Okay, well, since we're on the reptilian experience, let's just go ahead and explore that some more. What does Alexander look like? And did he wear any clothes, and describe his height,
Um,
his color?
he's green, not like bright green, but it's, it's like not in this dimension. It's like when I try to see his face, I usually see like the gecko lizard. I mean, I can kind of see his face, but he kind of like project my own ideas of what he should look like onto it, which was kind of weird. He's tall, is like 8 feet, I guess. And what I think is really is like I'm like my hobby's weightlifting, so I'm into muscles, and so what I think was really cool was the way that like their abs are set up. I couldn't tell you exactly, but it's not like a six pack like what we have. It's like just like all of these so many rows of like abdominal muscles and bigness, just like all the muscly stuff. So what he did a lot of work with me on learning to remain calm through stressful situations. They put me through a lot of things. Some of like we did different, he did not look like that. I always think that one's kind of interesting though. Um, like a lot of the training involved
How
like
about
being eaten. No, he's got like a longer face. He's got like a longer saurian face and like kind of a deep jaw, like a deep. He looks more dragony.
like this?
I haven't. Yeah, yeah. His head would be more that shape, but a little bit more refined. That looks a little bit more like Scoleon. Scoleon looks like I think it's in Ecuador or El Salvador. There's like a statue of a reptilian warrior that's really super thick. That's what Scoleon looks like. That's the one that pulled me off out of the line of people. But I haven't seen anything that looks like Alexander Lysander's brother. I looked through so much. I looked through so much reptilian art when this started happening. I had all of these things that I pulled down, and there were. We did a lot of like taking me through sort of like through history with rituals because they have a long relationship with humans on this planet. So we went through a lot of rituals that involved like human sacrifice. Yeah, that guy, that looks like Scullion. Scullion looks a lot like that. Yeah. Um,
Did he really have a little rooster on his head? That
not have a
probably
reason,
would.
not as far as I know.
They probably played this game where it was to try to see how long they can resist from eating it. There was a rooster on its head.
You're going to they probably played a game where they like tried to knock the rooster off each other's heads.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
saw my
I'm sorry
rooster
to interrupt you.
I don't know. Yeah. So I mean, we went through a lot of the history of. I mean, like I would go in like obviously in the astral, I think, but like to different rituals where there'd be like people worshiping him, and I mean, there was a lot of it was really bloody. It was traumatic, but it was part of my. I guess it was like part of my initiation or training or something, and it was interesting.
Okay, so at that point, you said you saw some other refugees on this ship.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit? Were they all from planet Earth?
As far as I could tell, we were all human, and nobody was really talking to each other. It was very it wasn't like a milling around thing. We weren't being held. We were actually, it felt like we were just we were being like onboarded. We were being moved from one place to another, and nobody was really talking to anybody. There wasn't like a hubbub or anything. There was just a lot of people. But it felt like we were all like moving. We were being moved somewhere to be taken somewhere. So I'm guessing they were getting ready to put us on like different transports to go different places. I mean, it felt like once I left, I was never going to come back. So it was on my way somewhere, and I got pulled out of that.
And so, can you describe what kind of clothing people were wearing?
Yeah, this is what was really weird. To say it was like dirty white I mean, it felt like it wasn't even from this time or from the Middle East, but I feel like what we think about from the Middle East is really stereotypical. But just like long white robes, you know, it felt like I was being pulled out of a war zone in the Middle East somewhere, or maybe like Northern Africa or something
It's
like that.
women were wearing the burqa.
No, no, it wasn't like that. It was just linen, like everybody was in dirty linen, long dirty linen. And I don't know, like that might be what they put us in when we got on the ship.
Can you describe what the inside of the ship looked like?
So it was all I could see was people where I was. But when I got taken to the safe room, it was like a dark, small room. It was like, well, not that small. It was like maybe 15 by 15, and it wasn't cold, but it was like a plain stone bed, but it wasn't hard. And they left me in there, and then eventually Alexander came and talked to me, or maybe it was Cassandra. I can't tell. I couldn't tell them apart then. Came in and talked to me, and I didn't know. Like obviously, I didn't know what was going on, and they just told me to be there and be quiet, and they'd get me out of there, and they did. Later, I visited. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was the same ship. You know, it's like I kind of started thinking, you know, those dirty rats. They pretended they saved me, but they were really the ones that were taking everybody off planet. I don't know, but I do want to describe the room that I stayed in on the regular ship, which was really neat. It was it's like dark. They keep things dark and kind of a little bit purplish, but not really purple, you know. And then the room that I was in on the ship had like, it was like grass growing on the ground, and there was a huge pool that was like, it was like stone steps down into it, and it was square, but it was like huge. It was like at least a couple 100 feet by a couple 100 feet, and we would sit there with our, you know, like our feet in the water and talk. And you know, we weren't really working on anything. You know, at that time I was working on my own spirituality, and we were working on things about me for not being so reactive and for staying in my center and working out like our relationship. So we're bonded. Alexander and I are bonded, and even though we don't really talk to each other that much right now, he makes sure that there's always somebody around me protecting me. Well, the family does, and that's kind of going to be the end game. He's working on something else this year.
So can Alexander shapeshift into a human, and and were you able to shapeshift into a reptilian on the ship?
I haven't been a reptilian on the ship, but I've been like a reptilian in different operations that they've put me in. But I don't really remember the operations. There's a lot of mind wiping that goes on, right? I mean, I vaguely remember being used as a witness for different things. So they'd send somebody to spy, and then because humans, I don't know, me as a human doesn't really go into the astral, so they put me into the astral as a reptilian because they're not the same dimensionality that we are.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, I don't have more.
Do you remember what it felt like to be in a reptilian form?
Yeah, it just felt natural. I mean, it was comfortable. I like being a reptilian.
And do reptilians have a sense of humor or feel emotions like humans do?
So this is really super important because people get mad about the hybridization program, and they say that, you know, like, I don't know, like they're trying to destroy us as human beings. Okay, so first off, we're engineered from the word go. So we need to get over being worried about being engineered, because we've been engineered, and even the Hebrew scriptures are very clear about that if you read it in the Hebrew. But this is the Earth-based saurians that live in space. One of the guys you interviewed recently talked about that?
Was it Chase, Joel Hendricks, him?
Might have been. I want to say it's like somebody with a Mexican name, with a Spanish name. I don't remember. I saved it on my YouTube too. But he said that they're saurians and they live in space, and I was like, oh hell yes, that's exactly who it is. Because people keep wanting to refer to Dracos and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know that they're Dracos. You know, I feel like I've done work for Dracos. They don't think these guys are Dracos. And so back. Okay, so the hybridization program is not to destroy us. It's not, I mean, maybe they're lying to me. Who knows? You know, like who do you believe? But what they're looking for is the heart center. So humans, we're special because we have the creative potential, right? We're the ones that are actually manifesting this reality. That's why it's so important, the whole cradle to grave thing, getting kids into school younger and younger, bombarding everybody with TV and music, is so that they can keep us programming this particular reality to hold things into the 3D so that the people in power can maintain their power. Because as soon as we get out of this dimensionality, then they're not going to have like all this money and power that they have, because it's all, you know, a house of cards. So what reptilians are, what this particular group of reptilians with whom I associate, I can't speak for anybody else. These are the only people I know. These are the only guys I have an insight on. They're trying to breed a heart center into them. So I think that they're succeeding. I think some of them do have a heart center. I don't know if they want the heart center because they want to feel, or because the heart center is how we have our creative power, and they're trying to get creative power. But you can't get the creative power without getting the feels. I mean, that's what the heart center is. So they definitely, the ones that I associate with, I feel like have the capacity to love. I don't get like this overwhelming feeling of love like people talk about with the mantids. I'm like, no, they're just juicing you with love juice. You know, you don't know that they really love you, but because of the things that they consistently, like you never know if somebody just like, they know how to, you know, they're running a good program and they know how to interact and how to make us feel good about things, or if it's really what they mean and really what they feel. But they seem to be pretty straightforward, and they seem to be not liars. It's not ever, I haven't ever had a conversation about, do you lie? Because if you ask somebody, you know, do you lie? Of course, they're going to say no, and then you're not any further than you were, but now they know that you think they might be lying. So there's no point having that conversation. But they're going for developing a heart center. And the hybrid babies, like one, when I was in the nursery on the ship, they took me to the nursery a few times and showed me different babies. And there was this one that looked like, he would look like a little baby blonde Hercules, you know, and he's running around and just being like a fat, chubby, blondie baby. Must have been like a couple years old, and like at the big, like, you know, like the old postcards with the fat babies and the curly hair. And I was just like, oh my God, that baby is so cute, right? And then he just like shape-shifted into a little dinosaur, you know, into like a little raptor guy. And it was like, oh my God, it was like he was showing off, right? And he was like, oh, look what I can do. But then he got chastised for it. The doctor came in and like, who's a reptilian, and he wore like a coat, but I think like a lab coat, but I think it was just like so that I would know he was the doctor or something. Like maybe they do that, maybe they like to dress, but normally they're not wearing clothes, except whenever I see, well, no, not sometimes I see the mother, and she's got like a big robe on, like a big dress and everything, but it might just be they're doing that so I know who they are. But anyway, the doctor came in and swept him up and chastised him. I was like, no, you know, like he's not supposed to do that. He wasn't supposed to shape shift in front of me. But I haven't seen anybody shape shift here on this planet in this dimensionality.
Oh, okay. So my next question would be, what was your reaction when these hybrid children, when you first saw these hybrid children, did you freak out and get scared, or did you embrace them immediately?
I had already been through so much, you know, like I saw so much stuff. I mean, you've heard about like reptilian rituals, and I participated in some, so I had already been through so much shit that, and I had already been saved, you know, like I already felt like they'd saved my life, and I wasn't freaked out. I was afraid I would be, and I think they were really worried that I was going to be freaked out, and that's why the baby got in trouble for shape-shifting in front of me, but I was not freaked out. I had gotten over being scared of or upset about reptilians, because in spite of all of the really truly like one of the things that we did was like as a dragon, he ate me, and like I got eaten and digested and shat out, you know, and then like revived. And it was like, I don't remember it, but I remember that it happened. And it was just like, holy, you know, it was, and that was like more than once. But then we also did like, we did things where like we'd like fly around and do things. And it was, and they like taught me some like really interesting meditation techniques, like one called 100 breaths, that then I found out they saw somewhere else was actually a thing. And I thought that was kind of wild. So I wasn't scared. Plus, I wasn't scared and I wasn't freaked out. Plus, part of the thing that you really have to do around them is not be scared. You know, it's kind of a pride thing. Like like even when like the really freaky weird stuff was happening, I was always very brave about it. You know, but like I've got kind of oppositional defiance disorder, so.
So you need like to have a confidence around them that they
Definitely
respect you.
Definitely. Okay. And they like when I started standing up to them at the end of 2018, I had like I renew the contract every year. I like entered into a formal contract, basically Yom Kippur 2017, and I had to renew it. I had a choice of renewing it. Like, okay, so now you've seen us. Are you going to stay in the family? Or are you going to say goodbye forever? And I really wanted to stay in the family, but I didn't want things to continue the way they'd continued, where I was being used for a lot of different things and getting mind wiped all the time. And so I set parameters, and I said, yes, but I no longer agree to this. I no longer agree to this. I no longer agree to this. And please don't mind wipe me. And so they were like, yeah, okay, that's cool. And then it was the younger brother was sort of in charge of my program. And he came at me like in December, like, you have to stop. Like, I had to stop smoking. I had to stop drinking. I had to stop eating cheese. I had to stop dating. I had to stop, like, this big list of things I had to stop. And I said, the Yahweh made you for me, not me for you. You need to go away for a few days and meditate on this and come back to me with a compromise. And he was like really upset. That was the time I told you before, when I had the scratch on my leg. I got the scratch on my leg. Like, I'd walk like 10 feet, look down, and I had this big scratch on my leg. And I was like, all right, fine. You know, it's like, yes, I hear you, you're upset. I was rude, but, and he came back in 3 days with a compromise. So it worked out. And it's like, they're like proud of me for standing up for myself and stepping into my power, you know. So it's kind of like, there's a certain amount of bullying that people kind of have to take before they'll stand up for themselves sometimes.
True that.
Yeah, that was their approach.
Well, the reason why I asked earlier about the reaction that you showed the children is because one of the tests that they give, that they testing certain, I guess, hybrid mothers, is I'm assuming you're the breeding program, is they want to see if you can become emotionally attached to these hybrid children, reptilian human hybrids. And one lady, when she first interacted with her reptilian hybrid children, she was revolted, and they were all like these frog-like creatures, like just started jumping all over. They were so excited that they got to see their mother first time. And then when she saw them, and she's like freaking out, like, what is this? And then they all started crying. It's like, oh, she hates us. She hates us. And then she felt bad. And then at that point, I guess you could say maybe they indoctrinated her to be more cooperative. Because these are live sentient creatures that have souls, and they may not look like us, but they have feelings. So that's one of the things they're doing, is testing how you react. So that's why I was curious. But I guess for you, it seemed like it was mostly positive. So that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on just a second. Oh, never mind. It's not gonna matter. I'm being interviewed on the show. Could you let him know that I'm being interviewed on a show? I don't have anywhere quieter to go. I have a bunch of roommates.
Okay.
Sorry,
Hopefully.
I didn't get a chance to tell everybody. Oh, that's cool. I apologize.
All right.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, so as Petra, I mean, I'm not. I love people, you know, and Jennifer, you have so many like body memories that confuse with the personality memories, you know, because like the body holds memories too. But I mean, like I lived to be a mother when I was like I homeschooled kids, right? I homeschooled my kids. I loved all my babies. I raised animals, and yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that people experience that. I'm sorry people are revolted by their children. I'm sorry that people are so narrow-minded that they feel like everything has to look like them.
We have a question from the chat room. Are these experiences something that you feel are perhaps are a dream, or you didn't mention astral travel, or are they real? Do you really feel like that you're physically there?
I feel like I'm physically there when I'm having the experiences, but when I look back on them, they feel very much like a dream. And if I hadn't been physically thrown around, if I hadn't had, I have run into people here who called me out for being a reptilian. I've run into people here who knew who knew Alexander and had it verified through like a third party that I trusted. And there are absolutely times when I feel like it's not real, but it's real.
Okay, so
yeah.
what other kind of interactions did you have with Alexander?
So he took me, like one of the things that we did in my early training was like he'd take me to meetings and I would like pose as like a slave basically without being graphic. And so like I'd be at meetings with him, and there'd be like different reptilians that would have women with them at the meetings. And it was like, no, I'm giving away their secrets, but I guess people probably know by now. So like when they're hanging out, it looks like it's just a bunch of people in a smoking room or whatever, you know, just like hanging out, being high with their goombas. And but really what we're doing is collecting information and like listening to the subtext. So like he'd be in a conversation with somebody, but like I was like on drugs and sort of picking stuff up in the liminal, and then they download that from you later. It's, if you look into the Monarch Mind Control Program, where they train women to be like sex toys to influence like people in power, you know, like bring down people in power. That's the same kind of thing that happens with them, and they get debriefed. And it's not like it's not like these men are telling them all these deep dark state secrets. It's stuff that gets transferred liminally because of the relationship that they have that can get picked up by a third party. So I was used for that. I did that kind of training, and I was like, I remember one time I was at a big family dinner, and it was like hundreds of people. When I say big family dinner, I mean like hundreds of people. Like the table was so long, and it went as far as you could see either direction. And when I say hundreds of people, I'm referring to reptilians. And Alexander and Lysandra, the two brothers, the two that I deal with, were on either side of me, and they were just eating all kinds of like really weird stuff, you know, just like weird stuff. And I eat kosher, and like I don't eat pig, and I try not to eat shellfish. I'm kind of over that. I'll eat shellfish now, but Lysander turned around and handed me a bite of something that was just like, oh God, there's like no way I would ever eat that on earth. And he turned around and he's like went to, you know, he's just like this and turned to hand it to me to put it in my mouth. And I was like, I just turned around and I just took it out of his hand with my mouth and ate it. And then they're like, okay, she's in the club. So that was one of the.
Was it like super bloody and?
No, it was cooked. It was cooked, but it was like they just don't always. I mean, you know, it's space. There's weird things.
All right. Can you talk a little bit more about some of their other rituals that you participated in?
They're really bloody. They're kind of vampire. It's like, I mean, because I hate to say, because it makes them sound bad, and it is. I mean, like it is bad, but then like we sacrifice animals and we sacrifice babies and blah blah blah. They actually, I think they actually breed people and raise people to, like, even as adults, to like have like these melee rituals where there was one, and I don't think this was on Earth. I think this was somewhere else, that they had like a huge human population, and these were sycophants, or people that were just worshiping them, and they knew what was going to happen. I mean, they know that this is the outcome, and there was this huge, huge. It was this was me getting officially entered into the family. There was this huge thing, and he was like on like, it was like this huge raised up temple in the front of the thing, and brought me in, and brought me out. And then it was like, then I went back, it's like, here, she's in the family, yada yada. And then, well, I don't know exactly what he said. And then I went back into like one of the back chambers, and I don't remember if I watched or not, but like he went down and ate a bunch of people, and that's just like what they do. But I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's not funny. But yes, they do eat people.
Well, do you think maybe they use one of the, like in Star Trek, they had the food replicators? So could they possibly replicate people? And
I don't know if they do replicate people. I don't know how they got the people. I don't know if they replicated them. I was under the impression that the people bred naturally there at that place. I don't know if it was on a ship or on a planet. I assume it was on a planet, and it was just like, they were like gods, and so they'd go in, and then like, we're gods, come worship us, and they come worship them, and then they're like, all right, now it's time, and you go in and he was just covered with blood, just tearing people apart and swallowing big gulps, like you'd imagine a giant raptor eating people. Well, people imagine tearing them up, but it's like more like throwing them up and gulping them down.